Hey, welcome back to Basin Motorsports on the saga known as the WideFox. So this week I had to go get insurance for the WideFox to be able to drive it legally on the street. And until I put together all the receipts, I had no idea on the value. My personality is that when I see a really nicely clean built car, I always wonder, how much did that thing cost to build? So if you've ever wondered that about the car that I'm about to finish phase 1 of, known as the WideFox, we're going to go through it piece by piece, and I'll tell you what the value of all these receipts is. Alright, so let me lay some ground rules to this game. Because I have supporters on the build and that either help me with parts or discounts or everything else, I'm only going to tell you the retail value of everything else. Because I don't think it's fair to give you guys a price that maybe you cannot go out and do for yourself. So all prices will be retail value of anything I describe in here. And then you guys can try to pick things up on sales like I have, or go out and get sponsorship or supporters or however you want to call them. Everything I tell you is going to be retail price, because I think that's an even way to do it all. So we're going to go through this piece by piece on the car. I'll tell you the value, and at the end we'll give you a total. So before I start listing prices, I'm going to put a poll up in the corner, and I want you guys to have a guess. What do you think this thing cost? So go ahead and click on it, select your value, and I'll give you a couple seconds, and then we're going to move on. Alright, so let's first talk about the car itself. So 27 months ago when I got this car, it was April of 2016, when I went up and picked this car up. So I drove up to Bend, Oregon. I got the car, checked it out. It cost me $700. Totally greasy. It was a 4-cylinder, 4-speed. Really nasty interior. The thing had an oil leak that was unbelievably bad. So I ended up getting it for $700. And it drove up on the trailer, thankfully, but it really was hard to deal with, honestly. So when I got the 80 home, I ended up bringing it in the garage, and I set it next to my 92 that had been rear-ended and wrecked. I knew that I was going to pull basically everything out of that 92 that I could and keep it and swap it into the 80. So into the 80 went the engine, the transmission, drive shaft, rear end, because it's an 8.8. Basically the cooling system was all there, the air induction, alternator, all that stuff. I ended up pulling out the harnesses, the complete fuel system from fuel tank, fuel lines all the way up. I already had injectors, MAF. So basically everything I could keep out of the 92 that would come into the 80. I put that value as $1,500. It may be undervalued or overvalued, but in my mind a wrecked V8 original that could be bolted in and immediately fired up, that was about $1,500. So at this point I was about in $2,200. Not too bad. Now, probably one of the biggest things that this car will be recognized for is going to be this wide body kit. Now, this was bought directly from Meyer Racing, about 16 months ago. I got this in March 2017. So this kit itself is $1,600 for the rear flares and the front fenders. And I ended up putting in probably about another $100 into the fasteners, the riv nuts, a lot of the fiberglass kitty hair that went in, the glass light, which is the top coat, and then I think I spent about 80-something hours fine-tuning it, getting it all put on and everything else. Don't include the labor, I'm just telling you how much it was. So that was probably about $1,700 between the materials and the kit itself to be able to look the way it is now. Now, I did the trim a couple years ago, or a year ago. I ended up wrapping this trim, taking it off, cleaning it, and wrapping it in 3M Dynoc carbon fiber. So the material itself was about $100, and that wasn't so bad. Now that kind of got my bug going for wrapping cars and that. So I did take a class, a month and a half ago, early June. I took a class to wrap vehicles, and I will be wrapping the WideFox. So the materials for that, between the roll itself, which I haven't bought, but I know what it costs, the roll and the materials to do it is going to cost me about $900 to get everything here. $800 for the roll, about another $100 in extra pieces, some extra tools in that. So not too bad, $900 there. And let's check out some wheels and tires. So the wheels and tires on the WideFox are an 18 by 10.5 Rovos Pretoria. Now these are in an offset that matches the rear of an SN95 Mustang, so kind of a low offset compared to what they would normally run for the front, because you don't have the brakes and the smaller fenders in that. So 18 by 10.5, these run roughly about $300 a piece, so they're about $1,200 for a set. The tires themselves are BFG Rival S. They are a 315/30/18. They are about $350 a tire, so they're borderline almost $1,500 for the tires themselves. Now, of course, you're going to have to get them balanced most likely, unless you get them somehow through a package or whatever. But you figure $1,200 for this, $1,500 for this, you're going to have about $2,700 into wheels and tires just to be able to stuff these big monsters under a wide body like this. So most of the interior on the WideFox is really going to be the original 1980 pieces just cleaned up. Now I did put some money into seals like the trunk, doors, run rubber, the dew wipes, you call them, kind of on the outside of the door. But like the door panels, the dash, the shifter, you know, all the bezels and all that stuff is going to stay original with the 80. Just going to take some time, get some soapy water, clean them up, and put them back on the car. They're in pretty good shape. Door panels will be the 80 originals. I'll probably do a little bit of carpet work on them, but nothing major. And then, like I said, a lot of the wiring that's actually in here to integrate the ECM into the 80 has mostly been time. That value from the wiring harnesses came from the 92 carryover. So other than just kind of spending a lot of time going through the wiring, depinning things, and making sure they all connect up, most of it really didn't cost me a whole lot. The seats themselves, these are new. These are a S1 version from an SVE or late model restoration. They're about $650 for the set. And the rear seat in this is just going to be the original 1980. And it's in good shape. It just needs to be kind of steam cleaned and cleaned up in that. Everything else is pretty good. Now, as far as the chassis stuff I've done on the WideFox, remember I did switch over to a 5-lug swap front and rear. I think I paid about $350 for all the pieces for that. I bought some Evaporust to kind of clean up stuff for Rusty. Put in some ARP studs, which were about $42, I think, for the studs. And then that wasn't much work other than just putting in some new fluids in that. Transmission was obviously carryover, T5. I put a new clutch in, which is an Exity brand, which was like $220 that I got from American Muscle. And I think that's really about it. So out of all those pieces of carry over a lot of stuff, have you been keeping track? Well, I'll tell you, the total value that I have on this car that I have it insured for is $11,000 and $500. So $11,500. I was kind of shocked at the value of it. What was your guess? Was it $11,500, or did you think I spent more or less? Either way, that's where it is today. Now, I obviously am going to spend some more money probably this winter doing better on the suspension. The 315 tires have way too much grip for the iBox springs I have on here, so I'll probably be going to some coilovers, maybe something a little bit better on the rear suspension and the control arms and that. So this thing is going to keep evolving. But at least right now I feel pretty good of where it sits. So that's it, guys. That is how much I have spent on the WideFox. Hopefully you guys found that interesting. And if you ever want to build something like this, you have a rough value of what it would cost to build. Now you can always go get sales and get sponsorship and everything else and start dropping that number down. I'll tell you the time frame to put this together, I have not included in that, but I'll tell you I've spent somewhere between 500 and 600 hours total from 2 years ago when I started stripping the 1980 until now. So that's it. 11.5. What do you think? Did I spend enough money or did I spend too much? We'll see you next time.